everybody, welcome back to my channel. My name is Emily. Today's video is we're going to try to take apart this Urban Decay Heavy Metals palette. I gave it some thought as to whether I would buy an extra one of these, and I figured the worst case scenario, if I destroy this in a way that I've ruined all of the eyeshadows, if I really feel that strongly about it, I can purchase another one, that's fine. But I'm really not using the palette. I never take it out, and it's basically going to sit there doing nothing, so the worst case scenario is that I destroy it, and I still never use it anyway. To be clear, I am not trying to break these eyeshadows on purpose. I am trying to liberate them from this stupid casing so I can get rid of this and store it in a much smaller palette. So let's get going. So with a regular depotting tool, I was not getting anywhere with this, but I am trying this with tiny little screwdrivers. So I'm sort of going under with one and then prying the other one underneath it to pop it up. And I've been sort of working my way underneath base for a little bit here, so I think I'm pretty close to getting it up. Haha! Alright, so I have now liberated base. I did poke it a teeny tiny bit with one of the screwdrivers on like my initial volley, but yeah, that came out pretty easily, all things considered. Once I managed to work my way through the side, they are very closely pressed up against the corners, so it does make it a little bit difficult. You have to sort of find a good corner and then slowly wiggle your way under so you can pry this up. But it is possible. It is possible to get this thing out without breaking this plastic casing, which is what I was hoping for. So I'm going to move this guy over to the side. I am disappointed to find out that this whole piece is like one solid top. This whole top is solid, so I can't break this off and get to the underside by any of the other ones. They're actually set into this metal top piece. So that's kind of frustrating. So basically, prying this out is probably the only way these are going to come out. I'm not sure all these colors will be able to come out ultimately without me destroying them, but the ones that have enough space on either side, I'm going to try to pry out with these tiny screwdrivers. So I think the next best option, I'm not sure I can get into Glory right now, so I'm going to try Maiden down here because that one is sort of set a little further away from the side. Alright, I have managed to retrieve the shade Maiden. That one took a little more damage on the side to squish it together, so this did pop up a little bit. But the glue in this is actually not your enemy, it's how tightly these are stuck into the top silver thing. The glue is pretty, once you get down there enough and just wiggle it around, you don't need to heat this on a hot pot, it's gonna come off. And I have liberated Acoustic. That one also took a little bit of squish damage on the side, but the shade itself is still pretty pressed. If you were curious, the reason I started with the sort of like gold, bronzy, silvery shades is because I was less interested in those shades. I can dupe those much easier. If this didn't work, I wouldn't have minded so much. So far though, it's going okay. It's going to only get harder from here because there's a lot less clearance under through some of these. And we've liberated After Party. We liberated Angel Fire. So basically what I found is if I can get in on one side, I'll make like a little divot here and a divot here with the smallest of my tools. Then I'll put the bigger tool in there once I've made a bigger space for it and sort of lift up. That usually gives me another seam on one of the other three sides to put my smaller tool in, and then I'm able to pop it out. You can hear the glue as it's crackling away. And we've liberated Scream. Though I jabbed a hole in Rhodey, it actually came out really easily once I got my tool in the right spot. So that was totally on me, not this one's fault. And I've liberated Glory. That one took a little doing. I hope that one's going to be okay. Demo popped out really easily, actually, so hooray. I'd like to think I'm getting the hang of this, but I suspect it's far more lucky that one just wasn't placed in as well. Trying to give you some better angles on this. It's kind of difficult, unfortunately, because I'm a righty. In order for me to get the bracing I need on my right hand, I'm leaning in with my left side, so either way I film, I tend to be covering up what's going on. Ha! And I've liberated Starfire. Alright, so at this point I've taken all of these brown, goldy, bronzy, metallic shades out, and I just have the colors left. I'm more worried about the colors. I don't want to damage them. I'd like to keep the colors more than the other set, but I didn't irrevocably destroy anything on this side. There's a couple nicks in a few of them, and like the little metal outsides are a little bent, but they're still quite usable, and they're far more usable once I put them in a smaller palette than this was going to be. So let's just have a deep breath and hope for the best. And Glamrock is free. Because as you can see, like where the glue is placed in these is very different. But if I get to the opposite side of where the glue is, I usually have a better chance. But I have really no way of figuring it out. Because this one was up a little bit higher. Since I approached from this corner, it actually made it easier to pop it out. I can only hope that that's similar on this side, because that would make it a lot easier. Because it appears that most of my clearance is on this side. So that's what I'm going to hope for with Twisted here. And actually that was the case. So when I approached from this corner, the glue was up here, which meant I could pull this out much easier. So Twisted is free. And the more I worry about damaging it, the sloppier I get. Did get a little damage to Punk Rock on that one, and in doing so I also sort of chunked out Amp a little bit. That's okay. I have other teals. And all that fussing, and Amp popped out so easily. Just gave it a little bit of a chunk. Should be okay. Got out Mullet. Moral of the story is the more I care about damaging it, the more likely I am to gouge a big chunk out. So I gotta stop caring so much. And Metalhead is a free elf. This is not for the faint of heart, my friends. Your hands start to shake after a while. I've been at this about an hour. The shadows that come out in 5 seconds are so exhilarating, but the shadows that take like 5 minutes, whew. And we've liberated Spandex. So I have liberated Dive at the expense of my tiniest little screwdriver. I have broken the tip off, but we're almost there. I think I can still make this work. And we've liberated Ground. Sadly, I took a chunk out of aluminum to do that. It's always the ones I like. Those are the ones that get the chomp. To be honest, I think aluminum took the most damage of any of them. I got a little chunk out of it when I was pulling out ground, and then the side is sort of like caved in on itself a bit, but it's free. And this is what your hands look like after you rip out every single color in an Urban Decay Heavy Metals palette. So this is what the palette looks like now. I feel like drop kicking it out of a window at this point. My hand hurts a little bit. I've got a little bit of a callus here from where I was sort of pushing in on the screwdriver, but it's out of this thing, and I don't have to have this anymore. So I'm gonna take a look at all of the shadows and sort of clean them up and line them up, and I'll measure them to see how big of a palette I'm going to need. If you look at it from here, it's significantly shorter. And if I move this back up here, it's about half the size now in width. Now that they've been liberated, you'll see the dimensions on each of these eyeshadows is 2 centimeters by 2 centimeters. That means for this row of 5, I've got up to 10, so you can size your palette accordingly once you have liberated it from your own palette, much as I have. So what I'll say is, I'm not sorry I did this, even though I did damage some of the colors. I don't feel like I damaged them enough to matter, and frankly, I wasn't using this palette at all. I haven't really used it since I got it. I'm going to get a palette that's appropriately sized for it. I don't have one that's quite small enough to fit all of these, and I only want it to hold this. I don't want to hold anything else in it, so I'm going to have to order something. But I'm looking forward to doing that because I'm actually going to get to use this product. It will actually be useful to me now that it is out of this gigantic packaging. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. If you're enjoying the content on this channel, please subscribe. If you try to take apart your palette, please let us know how it goes. I will let you know that your hands are going to hurt a little bit afterwards. My hands are pretty cramped. It took a little over an hour to pop out all of these shadows, and I got a little bit of a bruise in the middle of my hand from pushing down on the screwdriver. But you know what? It's totally worth it at this point. I hope you all have a wonderful day, and I'll see you soon. Bye!